Seems like Atari has been making some really weird moves this past year, right? We find out about the Ataribox that's going to be crowdfunded on Indiegogo. It gets delayed at like the 0 hour, like it was about to go live, and they have to delay it for something that sounded kind of important with their ecosystem. A little odd. And now we find out that they want to do something with Roller Coaster Tycoon, which is really cool to hear because I remember old school Roller Coaster Tycoon as being a big part of me growing up and playing it, along with The Sims, of course, because that was popular, Age of Empires, a lot of the older PC games. But the original Roller Coaster Tycoon was an awesome game. Even the sequels were good, but then they kind of fell apart. You probably know what I'm talking about with things like the most recent Roller Coaster Tycoon World and then Roller Coaster Tycoon Touch. The Touch was a mobile-free game, and that was, of course, designed for cell phones and tablets, and really things that were based around free-to-play microtransaction aspects, whereas the other one was on Steam and just had no shot against something like Planet Coaster. It was one-sided in that affair, we'll say that. If you go to the Steam page, it's mostly negative reviews all the way down for that Roller Coaster Tycoon that's most recent on there. So, of course, they want to do something with it, but they appear to not have enough confidence to back it with their own money, because they've opened up a type of crowdsourcing. In this case, they want people to invest in it and then get a return on their investment. Now, they're doing this over on startengine.com. You can go over there, look at their entire page on your own. You can follow along with it during this video if you'd like. I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to jump down there right now. Click the link and go to this page. You're going to see what's set up kind of like how it would be at a Kickstarter page, except in this case, they're not technically selling you perks to a degree or like early copies of the game or special editions or anything. Things that come alongside a perk with buying in early to a system or an accessory or a new game. In this case, they want you to invest so that you can get money back, a return on your investment. In this case, the minimum investment you could put in is $250, and the return on investment appears to be 120%. So not a ton, although if you do usually invest in things, a 20% return isn't terrible technically. So it looks like they're trying to raise somewhere between $10,000 upwards of $1 million, just over $1 million, like $1,070,000, something like that. And this is weird, but the big thing that I took away from this is for some reason they just don't have enough confidence in Roller Coaster Tycoon at all. And what's really weird is they would be putting it on a system that probably gives them the best shot at making any kind of money, yet they're still not confident. And what I'm talking about is this is supposed to be Roller Coaster Tycoon Switch Edition. So it's going to the Switch. According to them, it's going to be a completely original Roller Coaster Tycoon. But what's odd is they're going to be using the company, at least the development company, that made the mobile version, the Roller Coaster Tycoon Touch. And this is Envisio Creations. Again, they developed the mobile version of Roller Coaster Tycoon that was a free-to-play, microtransactions everywhere kind of game. But apparently they also have experience with consoles and PC and, of course, mobile platforms. Makes a little bit of sense, at least, if you think about it. They've already designed for something like an ARM chipset, and they're going to work on something like the Switch that has a touchscreen and, again, an ARM chipset. So at least to me, that makes sense. But it's leaving a lot of people kind of in doubt about what kind of game this is going to be. Is this going to be a straight port from mobile over to the Switch? Despite them saying it won't be, it's going to be an original game, people are still a little like, are you sure this isn't going to be a port? Kind of like, think of Gear Club, right? It wasn't free to play. They charged you a pretty good amount for it, but it still was technically a port from the mobile version without any of the microtransactions and kind of they sped up the progression system, if you will. So is that what we're getting with Roller Coaster Tycoon? Well, according to them, it's not. These are actually the features they say will be coming with it. Multiple scenarios, so according to them, complete tricky objectives with specific time limits and other constraints. Sandbox mode with various landscapes, so you get to create, of course, your park as you usually do with unlimited time, unlimited resources, which you would do in the older Roller Coaster Tycoons. They also have like a campaign mode, you see here with career mode, but you would be able to go in and just create whatever zany roller coaster, or maybe you wanted to just put crazy amounts of stuff that would make all the people walk around and throw up, and then you wouldn't clean it up and your park would be a wreck, or just this ridiculous Ferris wheel. You could do that apparently here. And then the Tycoon career mode, expand your park and grow your amusement empire. Again, something you had to do was deal with the people who would come in versus what you were building, what the money you were making, and you had to kind of manage it, again, like a sim style. And that was really fun. Of course, a lot of people just like to make all kinds of stuff with their roller coasters, and that was really fun too. Hopefully at least put a way for it to finish so people didn't just go crashing into flames, because that I know a lot of people did that too. I did it, everyone did it. So let's take a look at where this entire investment opportunity kind of falls apart and a little bit of doubt is thrown in there, we'll say that. Let's take a look at some of the investment tiers right here, and you're going to see the all investors, the Atari game partners will host an investors site online. So if you invest, you get access to a site online where they'll have the option to have your name listed on that page, and you'll get updates, of course, as they have to do with their investors. The minimum buy-in is $250. That'll get you that perk. And if you do give them at least $750, the investor perk, of course, from before applies to this. And then you get a full, I'm not kidding guys, a full discount, 25% off the street price of the game at launch, valid for purchase of 1 unit of Roller Coaster Tycoon Nintendo Switch. At least $1,500, though, will get you a free copy of the regular edition of the book, The Art of Atari. Now, it doesn't look like that 25% discount goes away. Don't worry. You still get that sweet discount off of that game. Not the full game for free. No. The discount, though, you get. I don't get that part. It's weird. That means somebody sat down in a room, or a group of people sat down in a room and said, all right, they're giving us $750. Let's make sure they get that 25% discount. Not 30, 25. That'll do it. It's very weird. You figure they invested in the product. It's a lot of money. $750 in what is essentially cross your fingers hope. It's a little weird not to give you the full game. And, well, they even say that themselves in a passage lower, saying, don't give us money if you can't lose that money. Essentially, don't bet your mortgage on this, guys. Don't go out there and put your house on the line over this. Just give us what you can afford to lose. Essentially, pretend like you're actually burning the money or throwing it down a well, because there's a chance it doesn't pan out at all. In fact, the actual money they'll be giving you back is based on profits. So if this does not turn a profit, they don't have to pay anything, apparently. They're just off the hook. So while there is at least a good chance of it getting profit on the Switch, since the Switch has been very good to smaller indie games, they still need to design a game that is at least good enough to sell, and at a price that isn't crazy, right? I mean, I wouldn't expect Roller Coaster Tycoon to show up for a full $60. I wouldn't even expect to show up for like $40. I'd say it's probably a $25, $30 game max, as long as it's a good Roller Coaster Tycoon and not something like we saw with Roller Coaster Tycoon on Steam, the most recent one, where that got a lot of negative press and it barely worked. I mean, seriously, if you go on there and look at a lot of the reviews, most people are mad because it doesn't work, really. Before finishing up here, I also want to turn your attention to one line that's kind of all the way towards the bottom of the page. Now, they have a lot of stuff you can look into, and they outline everything for you pretty well, and you can look through what you get back for your investment and everything. If you really want to dive into it, if you do want to invest, you can. I want to just make sure everyone sees this line down at the bottom under irregular use of proceeds, saying, we might incur irregular use of proceeds that may include, but are not limited to, the following over $10,000. Vendor payments and salary made to oneself, a friend, or relative, any expense labeled administration expenses that is not strictly for administrative purposes, any expense labeled travel and entertainment, any expense that is for the purposes of intercompany debt or back payments. So be very careful if you invest in this, guys. They've outlined this really well to protect themselves. Right below that line, it's all about risk. But what they just told you there is, well, a lot. See, corporations are very free with some of their money. They'll travel first class, right? They'll buy the entire office, lunch and stuff. They'll do stuff it's pretty lavish sometimes. They even just told you that, well, if they have to pay back debt for other areas of the business, they'll use your money for that. So, be careful with that. I thought it was funny. I mean, they had to put that in there somewhere. And if you look, it's almost towards the bottom of the page. Seriously, go look. You have to scroll all the way down to find that passage. So be careful here. I'm not really sure what else they would do here with entertainment expenses. I'm sure some of you guys come up with some pretty crazy ideas as to what they could be using that money for. Just be careful. Also, I want to point out that it feels like Atari has fallen very low. I know Infogrames, or I always have a hard time with their name. Infogrames is pretty much running Atari. It's not the old Atari as we used to know them. And if you look at their stock value, it's like 60 cents, 50 cents. It was much lower than that even before they announced that system they were supposedly building that we still haven't seen. So I want you to be careful here. If you do want to invest, do not invest money that you need, right? Because it sounds like this game wouldn't be done for a while. You wouldn't even see that, I don't know, $50 to $200 that you'd be getting back on investment. So be careful. It's a risk. I wouldn't even expect it to happen, is what I'm going to say. It sounds bad, but they need at least, I guess, $10,000 to start. That's not enough money to even get started, so they probably need that million, and I don't know if they're going to raise $1 million here, so it seems like once they get that money and they're past that $10,000 threshold, you're not getting it back even if they don't make the game, so, you know, keep that in mind. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me tonight here. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and definitely let me know what you think about Atari seemingly asking for investment about a game that will probably be successful enough if they really wanted it to go through and they actually put forth an effort, right, on the Switch. I mean, look at Switch indie games. They're going crazy. I don't know why they need to ask for investment unless they really are that bad for money. Like, unless they're really that bad off, like they just don't have any money and they can't build Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's very odd to see this because they were already going to crowdfund the Ataribox. Now they're looking for crowdfunding investment for a Roller Coaster Tycoon game. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Maybe you're just excited to hear that Roller Coaster Tycoon might come back. That's fine. Maybe you're like, why are they asking for investments? I don't know. Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow morning for Newswave.